Welcome to another episode of Ask SAFETY4SEA. In this episode, we are hosting Cynthia Hudson. Cynthia is the Chief Executive Officer of Hudson Cyber. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you very much.
We would like to discuss a number of issues with relation to cyber, and we will start by asking, is cybersecurity a buzzword, or is there real-life issues behind cybersecurity?
Cybersecurity is becoming a buzzword. It used to be called information security. But I think beyond the buzzword aspect of it, there are so many aspects that vessel owners really need to be aware of.
Okay. Is there going to be cybersecurity issues in 2100?
Oh, I think it's going to explode from where we are now. We expect by 2020 to maybe have 50 billion connected devices to worry about worldwide. And we expect that will be in the trillions by the time we reach 2100.
I see. Okay, and what is the weakest link with respect to cybersecurity, do you think?
Well, these are some short and fast answers. The best way to express the weakest link is to say people.
That's it. So as long as we have people and we have connected devices, we're going to have cybersecurity issues.
That's correct, unless we want to lock things down, and we do not. Our need for sharing information and communicating is going up, not down.
You mean lockdown going back to the Stone Age?
That's like exactly right, and we're not doing that.
That's okay. Now, why is it a real-life issue to a number of stakeholders? I'm talking about ship operators, ports, regulators, insurers, charters. Why is it a real-life issue for them?
Well, it's a real-life issue because it really revolves around money and the things that we value within the business environment. So the security of information is what is protecting us when it comes to transferring money, transferring important data that is worth money, etc. So, and then the personal data aspect of it, of course, is a challenge. And so we believe that if you say money first, because really all of us are vulnerable as businesses, but personal data is also very important, as we see in GDPR.
I see. Which vessel systems or which source systems you think are more vulnerable, let's say, to cyber attacks?
Any system that is digitally enabled is vulnerable. So essentially, these days, nearly all systems that are connected are vulnerable.
Okay. Now, with respect to the existing regulatory regime, do you think that the existing regulatory regime is sufficient? Do you think we need more regulation, and towards what end? And do you think we need more, let's say, self-regulation, and again, towards what end? What is your view on this?
May I answer a question with a question? Do we believe that vessel owners left to their own devices will spend sufficient time and resource in doing cyber best practices, cybersecurity best practices?
I will answer this question of yours, answering this question of mine with another question. Let's assume that we have an organization and this organization is being hacked. Let's assume for the time being. Do you think that our organization, which is being hacked, should invest in order to avoid future similar losses? Yes or no? What do you think?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So, to rephrase your question to my question, trying to answer my initial question. So, you just implying that we should expect more feedback from the ship owner side as long as they have incidents, something like that?
I believe that incidents will continue to be rising, and we will become more aware of them. And I believe this makes ship owners aware that they have vulnerabilities that can be expensive and embarrassing.
I see. Talking about the incidents, there's an ongoing consensus in the market that there are a number of incidents going underreported or non-reported at all. Do you think there's a certain countermeasure, mix of countermeasures in order to ensure reporting of these incidents for the sake of the improvement of the industry?
Yes, I do believe that the countermeasure that we will come to eventually is an information sharing center that is anonymized. In other words, a vessel owner who wants to report information for the good of the industry and for the good of the general public has a way to do it that does not create additional embarrassment, vulnerabilities, or compromise his competitive data.
Yes, but what are the lessons? I'm just insisting on this. What are the lessons to be learned from other sectors or other industries. Let's take another sector, let's say.
Yeah.
Let's take the piracy incidents. There, piracy reporting is mandatory by flag state, by IMO, and so on and so forth. If it was not mandatory, do you think that the reporting would be at the same levels?
Likely not. I think that the
Probably.
insurance community will drive reporting requirements, and I also think that the regulatory requirements will drive reporting.
Okay, let's take another sector. Let's take another industry, sorry. Let's take banking. In banking industry and in the financial sector, again, it's a rule, it's a mandatory requirement to report these incidents, among other things. I mean, do you think that regulation will effectively solve this issue?
Effectively is a different question, but regulation will improve the issue. And the issue is coming again to an information sharing center where cyber incidents may be reported without creating additional damage to the person reporting.
Okay. We've seen a number of incidents recently. We've seen the Maersk petty attack last year. We've seen a number of ports attacked recently within the last weeks. Why is this a repetitive case? I mean, shouldn't at least the ports have lessons to be learned from the Maersk incident? And it was not necessarily a case with the ships, but mainly with the port, the Maersk incident, and the infrastructure surrounding the ports. Are there any lessons to be learned for the ports?
Yes, the ports have a very big challenge themselves, and the ports are obviously located in one place. They are not moving as a ship would move. And so they need to be able to protect themselves, their data, their people, their reputations by preparing properly. And they're beginning to do that now.
I see. Now, with respect to where we stand now and looking forward, what do you think would be the biggest challenge within the next 3 to 5 years with respect to cyber?
Well, in my opinion, the biggest challenge is to change the culture within the shipping community and the population as a whole, but within the shipping community, which is to say that something needs to be done now, not for us to wait until we ourselves have been damaged through a very serious attack.
I see. And should we expect any developments with respect to any sort of regulatory regime, let's say, in the US? Many insiders think that the case of a cyber QI maybe, I'm just bringing an example here, in the US may be imminent. What do you think about that?
I believe that they will have to establish a regime to ensure that appropriate response resources have been identified in advance and are able to be implemented by someone that has the authority to do so. There will be differences and changes because cyber is a little bit different. It's invisible. We can't look at it or attack it the way we would, for example, an oil spill. But yes, we need some responsibility. The U.S. is not rushing toward this regulation, but we believe that it will be something in the future.
Now, living in the U.S., what do you think is the investors' view towards cybersecurity?
The investors are very aware that cybersecurity poses a risk, a threat to the value of the operation or company that they're investing within. And so that risk needs to be mitigated, and it's not enough to say, yes, I have something in place. The demonstration of mitigation by having adopted a proper cyber regime or framework within an enterprise, not on board ships only, but within the enterprise, will need to be increasingly revealed and proven to the investors that are coming to do due diligence.
Okay, I see that. Now, I have two questions. What is the first one, what is your, let's say, wish list with respect to cyber? How should the industry move forward in order to minimize these cyber risks?
I believe that the industry needs to begin with a self-assessment. However, self-assessments themselves are not valuable until they are coupled with training. So if I were going to say to our industry, what do we need to do to begin to adopt best practices? We start with training, and then we start with training. And that would include and encompass tabletop exercises, simulations, but basic awareness training is where we need to begin.
I understand. I mean, we have the feedback from several stakeholders, not only ship operators, but several industry stakeholders, trying to educate and raise the awareness of their staff. It's always difficult to persuade staff not to open an email, not to click on a link. And as you said, it's the weak link, the humans being the weakest link, and that's an important, lesson to move forward. Now, my last question to you is, what is your, let's say, advice to the ship operators? How should they be properly prepared beyond the training?
I do believe, and I alluded to the fact that an assessment needs to take place. Ship owners are not strangers to assessment processes, but an assessment process cannot be focused just on the IT manager and his department. An enterprise-wide risk assessment that reveals what the present status of the cyber protection framework is in his own enterprise gives him the tools to say, I know that I am at level 1, but I would like to be at level 2 or 3. And how to get there can be developed from that assessment process.
That's okay. And I know I said that this is my last question, but I'm tempted to ask another one. Let's say from 1 to 10, where do you think the industry stands now with respect to cyber security, let's say, not implementation, but let's say preparation and the status of the industry? From 1 to 10, where do you think the industry stands now?
The good news is there are certain that on a scale of 1 to 10 we would maybe evaluate as a 7 or 8. But the bad news is that most of the industry must be around a 1.5 to a 3. And this means that much work is needed to be done. We have to get started, and let's start now.
Okay, now Cynthia, I would like to thank you. Please, I would like to, let's say to our viewers, where they will be able to find you. Tell us a few words about your organization and where they can find you.
Thank you. Our headquarters are in the Philadelphia area of the United States. We have a very wonderful regime, office in Athens, Greece, in Piraeus actually, and we are in Italy, but please call us in our headquarters. Hudson Analytix has Hudson Cyber, and our headquarters in Philadelphia will answer all your questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, thank you all for watching this episode. If you have any questions or comments, please share it in the section below, and trust you stay with us and stay tuned in this channel for another episode of Ask SAFETY4SEA. Thank you very much.